They will tell you what to do. Come in, Johnny. For you folks out there live streaming today, we are on page 212 of your textbook. We're on Appendix 1, Exercise 4-24. We're going to get this started. I just gave the students a spreadsheet, and they're copying the first two columns, which is in Exercise 24. Copy that down as fast as you can. Sign it, show your presence there, pass it around. You already got that jotted down. Start studying the adjustments on the next page. Right under it, study those adjustments. We're going to put those on the worksheet. Everybody get it jotted down first. Should we not do study the adjustments? We'll have to put them in the next two columns. Go ahead and start. Like you can. Okay. What? Left side, so it's got to the right side.
There's really good students, that's all.
That's good. Okay, chapter 3, we did an unadjusted trial balance. Chapter 3, we also did adjustments. So if you would, look at page 212 and make sure you have that jotted down. Make sure you add it up. It adds up to 500. So we got little numbers on that spreadsheet. Call it spreadsheet or worksheet, doesn't matter. Now let's look at the adjusted interest. Fees earned but not yet billed. All right, Alexander, what do you think about that?
Should go for accounts receivable, so
Debit accounts receivable for that amount, yes, and credit fees earned. All right, go ahead and jot that down in your adjustment columns. Debit accounts receivable and credit fees earned in your adjustment column. Might want to put a letter in front of them, letter A, or number 1, letter A. The letter A in front of accounts receivable, the adjustment column, that is $13, right? All right, supplies on hand, 4. All right, now I want you to take it away and do those other adjustments. Do those other adjustments. We're still copying down the spreadsheet. Supplies on hand. That means you've got a supplies expense in there somewhere. All right, let's look at those adjustments together. Supplies on hand, $4. You had 8 on hand, so how many did you use? How many did you use? If you got the wrong 4 here, you're still okay. So you debit what for 4? Supplies what? Expense, and you credit supplies. All right, that's entry B in your adjustment columns. Insurance premium is expired, $10. You're going to debit insurance expense for how much? And credit what for $10? Prepaid insurance. Then we've got depreciation expense. Seth, how about that one?
Debit depreciation expense and credit accumulated depreciation.
Debit depreciation expense and credit accumulated depreciation. All right, now wages accrued but not paid, $1. All right. Joshua, what do you think about that one?
Credit your wages payable.
Right, credit wages payable, but what do you debit? Wage expense for $1. Now, has anybody got those adjustments added up yet? What have you got?
For the new accounts receivable, it's 103. For the new supplies, it's 4.
No. Hold on. I just want the adjustments, the columns 3 and 4, the total.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Didn't-
What have you got?
517.
517? That sounds like too much. I'm going to show. What have you got back there? 31 sounds a lot better, and that's what it is. Make sure you get these 2 columns to add up to 31. Well, let me give you some TV here.
They just gave you the answer to the adjusted trial balance. Next one.
Don't do that. Don't do that yet. All right, you see 31, right? So I want everybody to have that column added up to 31. Make sure it adds up to 31. Okay, is that up to 31? Make sure it adds up to 31.
All these added up together.
Yeah, I want you to add the total, sure. 31. All right, now I want you to proceed and do the adjusted trial balance. That's columns 5 and 6. That means combine the first 4 columns. You got accounts receivable, and you got more accounts receivable added. Combine those, do the adjusted trial balance. 1, 2, 4. See what that total. You've already done the trial balance. Well, this is already done the adjusted trial balance stuff. Check it. If debit, check with this credit balance. That's what that's trial balance done. So you have to right. Check it. It's, yeah, yeah.
It doesn't. Fix my problem.
No, I was telling you that Cecil had said 517. I was saying, they thought he was on balance sheet.
How many hours?
Okay, now this is where I want everybody to be, but everybody's not up to date here. Some of you are trying to do your own thing. Here's what I want. The adjustments, make sure they're on there. All right, of course, these 2 columns had 500. That was in your book. I want you to get 31. Make sure you got your debits and credits here. This is a spreadsheet. This is going to be the problem on your next test. I'm trying to lead you through it. Some of you are going too fast, some of you are going too slow. All right, but 31. Now, when you combine these, bring over cash 12. Accounts receivable 90 plus 13 is 103. Supplies 8 minus 4 leaves 4. Prepaid insurance 12 minus 10 leaves 2. And so on. Accumulated depreciation 4 plus 3 is equal to 7. Wages payable 0 plus 1 is 1. Then there's fees earned 200 plus 13 is 213. Make sure you got 517 in columns 5 and 6. You at home, you're not here to get this worksheet, so you'd have to draw this on a plain sheet of paper. All right, now look at exercise 25 in your book. Now, exercise 25 is your answer to exercise 24. You had this answer. Some of you saw that, some of you didn't. Now, that's columns 5 and 6 is done for you, right? Now we're going to do columns 7, 8, 9, 10. 7 and 8 has your income statement stuff. 9 and 10 has your balance sheet stuff. So go ahead and see if you can do column 7 and 8, the income statement information. Straight that. That's the net income yet, Margo? How much is it?
Oh, you want me to tell?
Yeah.
65, yes.
$65. Net income, when you do this column 7 and 8, 65. Did you get 65? Yeah. All right, we got a few people who's got 65. Okay, 65 is correct once you get there. Revenue expenses only. Revenue expenses, okay, so not very good. And you don't have to see benefits. You only have one. Credit expenses. I worked here a year. I quit.
I forgot to add your,
What year was that?
got to add 10 for some of the. Yeah. The future trial math is just, as you go over your original value, that's incorrect.
Oh,
Yep. We'll think about like copies and stuff. It's got to work. The guy called me and tried to keep it going with his house. The guy, I thought he got whatever. Some girl he was like, come over to his house and then he got the information out. I got 65. Where his budget is again. Okay. Everything else goes on the back.
it does.
So on the table. If user goes to credit, everything is good. Then you add up down. Yeah, and it's, you know, hey, you gotta follow everything. Here, that is like 369.
Oh, yeah.
Well, just track whatever you got about. How's our?
I gotta do it, so I can.
I finished my career, but I emailed Professor Burt, I had to figure out what the effective balance of, I didn't see any of it. Or if you have 17% continuously compound, like 18 point something. They told me to put it as a percentage, but it wouldn't let me do, it wouldn't let me submit it as a percentage, so I, it's been totally wrong. Just coming in bars, you might.
Well, that's. Yeah.
I think this is like the switch. I probably be doing a lot better.
It ain't quicker.
You know, there's actually or like actual Excel documents that I can do everything.
Is that where you go?
But you ever submit your, you did some injunction.
Yeah, I think that's one of the great things about it. It's people valuable. It's valuable. Yeah, it's.
Okay, let's look at the final picture here, and I know I'm taking a while on this, but that's okay. Now, here's the final statements. Here is columns 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And anyway, the income statement has fees earned on it. How about that?
How about that?
Just one item is a credit, and it has expenses on it. How about that? Just like on your test, an income statement. And your net income is $65. Now, you want to make these balance. $65 added on to your expenses gives us a total of $213. What goes on the balance sheet? Assets, of course. Liabilities, capital. Now, here we're putting drawing here too. Drawing does not go on the official balance sheet. You know that. You got to do a capital statement in between. But here, we take our net income as a credit on the balance sheet to make it balance at $369. And you've completed a 10-column spreadsheet or worksheet. Okay? Anyhow, if you haven't finished that, do so. Now listen up to the instructions. I want you to do before Thursday the rest of this problem. Now, what is the rest of it? You're going to do exercise 26, 27, 28. What does exercise 26 say to do? Financial statements, form that worksheet. So you can put those on plain paper. And then it says to do what? Adjusted what? Adjusted entry, don't it? And then it says what? For exercise 28, closing entries. So that is additional homework for Thursday in addition to Cengage. Now, how are we doing on chapter 4 on Cengage?
For chapter 4 and 5, so we do 27.
Day is the what? 18? It'll be somewhere around the 27th at chapter 4 and 5. We'll totally be did. Who has chapter 4 finished? All right, who has it started? All right, put you back up and do chapter 3.
I gotta go turn it in.
All right, those problems would take an average. Anyway, I was talking to Margot back there. We were talking about religion, and do we have any Methodists in here? Anybody go to Methodist? You go to Methodist?
I bounce back and forth. I go to my fiance's church and then my church.
Your church is Methodist?
Pentecostal, or she's Methodist.
That's a
It's a little different.
little bit opposite, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm familiar with most religions. I've got family in Detroit that are Catholic, got family that are Baptist. Know about the Pentecost and all that. But anyway, I had a 10th grade student one time, and we went, I was at it's called distributed education, which is market in high school. And it's co-op. But anyway, we went to what was called a DECA rally. And we had officers' workshops, we had a picnic, then we had a dance. 3 or 4 of my students got on the bus, didn't want to stay for the dance. And so I asked them next day, this 10th graders, why they wanted to sit on buses. They said, we don't believe in dancing. We didn't like the rock and roll music. I said, okay, so the class, I said, I'm not here to teach religion. Whatever religion you are is fine. But I want some of your ideals. What your religion believes. I had this little Mormon gal, 10th grade. And she said, Mr. Lester, I'm Mormon. She said, we don't take anything into our body that would harm us, like smoking, alcohol, chocolate, Coca-Cola, anything with caffeine. So that's their belief. Since then, I had a niece that turned Mormon, married a Mormon guy. She's out in Utah, and I think she quit going to church, like some of her beliefs, but that's up to her. So I get 2 or 3 other kids, they said, well, Mr. Lester, we can't come to a ball game. Our parents won't let us, our religion, we're afraid somebody will be drinking beside us or cussing. You know, you're going to have that at ball games, go to a tech ball game, you'll see all kinds of drinking, cussing, I guess. So anyway, as I went around the room, and a couple of girls said, well, our church don't believe in cutting your hair, so we have never cut our hair, and so forth. You know, one church they didn't believe in makeup or wearing jewelry. So I got to Elizabeth McClanahan, and you know what she said? She said, Mr. Lester, I'm Methodist. We can do anything. So, but Elizabeth went on. She is now a Supreme Court Justice for the state of Virginia. So, she was sharp at the time. But what she meant, she was a cheerleader in high school. She could go to ball games. She could go to a dance. That's what she meant by doing anything. Okay. All right. Now, chapter 4, folks, it's very important. Now, can you do an income statement from columns 8 and 9? I mean 7 and 8? Can you copy this onto an income statement? Sure you can. Can you take the ending capital, add net income, and subtract drawing and get a capital statement? Then take everything else plus ending capital and do a balance sheet. And then do adjusting entries. Well, if you're going to do adjusting entries, can't you copy them right from the statement? You've got them on there. Can you see that you debit accounts receivable and you credit fees earned? Or you debit supplies expense and credit supplies? Or you debit insurance expense and credit prepaid insurance? Jot those down in the journal entry form. Then I want closing entries. Now, what is closing entries? Do what? Bring all your balances up to date, yes. Now, we need to practice a few things in your book. Remember, the steps of the accounting cycle is in this chapter, and so forth. And we've looked at those, all the statements again. Now let's look at exercise 4.4, page 205. Question, did we do that one in class? Did we do it in class? No? All right, we're going to do exercise. Well, no, that's E. Let me get to another exercise. I didn't want the, now you can do closing entries from the statements or from your ledger. All right, let's look at exercise 17. 17. Exercise 17 is on page 210. 210, exercise 17. Now, go back in your book if you need a road map. And what page are these closing entries on? What page in chapter 4 illustrates closing entries? Page what?
203.
Right, page 203, yes, right at the top of the page. See, this is a good example of what you're doing. Page 202 are the statements you have to do. And 203, now closing entries. You debit your revenue and credit your expenses. You debit capital and your credit drawing. So look at that page and try to do exercise 17. Do it on plain paper. Now you've got a loss. Only thing difference about 17, it is a loss. But you'll know whether to debit or credit your capital. Not a loss, you'll debit capital. You got a gain, you'll credit capital. So take a minute, jot me down 2 entries. Everybody participate, you need to practice. Johnny, can you get that worksheet finished? Don't think so? You got up to span it yet? You get up, you can start to it? Yes. Okay. Johnny, you got a solution to that on Google? Put a movie, got a solution.
What do you mean by it's gonna be a loss? Like a loss?
Well, you got a loss there when you take revenue from expenses. You have to debit capital to make it balance. Just go through the process. Debit fees earned, credit for expenses. The balance has to be capital, either debit or credit. Probably debit because you had a loss. So don't do it in G accounts now. Do it in determining form. Do it in journal entry form. Debit fees earned, credit for expenses.
Treasure capital.
All right. Internal entry. All right. And for this entry here, be concerned with this entry.
Really sad.
And so there's one less than what I've got.
debit capital, because you got a loss. Loss is 75,000.
Oh, the reason.
Debit capital, yeah. And you got a debit capital, you make money back. You have to debit capital, make it back. A loss, you have to debit capital. No. These entries stand alone. You're closing out drawing, so debit capital for 75. That's debit capital for 75. That takes care of drawing, yes. No, that was 75. This debit capital is 75. And credit drawing 75. That entry is okay, but this is the one that a debit capital, put down his capital. What have to debit his capital. Expenses are more than the revenue, okay? Okay, folks, on this one, my solution's got two. It's got 17, 18 overlapped. Down to 17. Closing entries with a net loss. Now, let's see if these are the right figures. You don't close out capital, you know that. But your fees earned was 618. All right, debit your fees earned. Credit your rent, supplies, and miscellaneous. Well, now that don't look like a net loss to me. What?
Yeah.
Is it a net loss?
It's a net.
It's a net income, isn't it? So Margot's gonna have to credit capital. If it's a net income, you credit capital 144, 150. It sure looked like they said it was a loss, but it's not. All right, and then close out your drawing. Now remember, when you post these things, you're going to have a zero balance in fees earned, expenses, and drawing. You will not have a zero balance in capital. You're not closing out capital. You're just putting net income into it and taking out drawing. That's all you're doing. Okay, when you get that finished, I want you to go back to page 190 in your textbook. Page 190 in your textbook. We're going to make this a 1 or 2 problem test. Now, a 1 problem test is going to look like that worksheet we did today with all the statements, the adjusted entries, and the closing entries. And from this chapter, I may ask you to list the steps of the accounting cycle. And you can find them in there 2 or 3 places. You can pretty much memorize those. We go back to page 190. This is the appendix. The spreadsheet is not necessary in the accounting world, but will help you get a picture of how these statements come from the end of the accounting period data. All right, you start off with adjusted trial balance. Now, before you get up to that, you got to make entries, you got to post, and you got to come up with an unadjusted trial balance. But a good accounting program, even QuickBooks Pro, there's Peachtree, any of them will post for you. And you can ask for a balance sheet any day of the month or an income statement any day of the month. Okay? All right, but we're not doing it computerized. We're doing it the long, hard way, so you can learn it. All right, now look at page 191. That's the adjusting entries. All right. For example, Dylan, how about your adjusting entry for fees earned? What did you debit? On page 191, what did you debit? A debit and credit what? All right. Credit fees earned. And of course, you had adjustments to rent revenue and a lot of other items, okay? Now, we did those adjustments. Now turn a page. You have to bring over the adjusted trial balance like we did a minute ago, and it was in your book, really. All right, Kelly, for example, how did you get 2720 in accounts receivable? You took accounts receivable and added the 500 and got 2720. All right, then I asked you to complete the worksheet. So turn a page. By now, any person in here ought to know what goes on the income statement. All right, revenue and expenses. Okay. There's an income statement. What goes on it? All right. Everybody in here ought to know that now. Everybody in here should get an income statement on the next test. Okay. All right. Now the next two columns are balance sheet items. Now we're going to do a statement of owner's equity. And you've done a few of these, did it on last test. Beginning capital, add net income, subtract drawing, and get ending capital. You have to have that through the balance sheet, don't you? And by now, you should know that the balance sheet is the accounting equation. Assets is equal to liabilities plus owner's equity. The balance sheet is the accounting equation. Okay, we had a few adjusted entries. We had a few adjusted entries on the last test. You'll have them, of course, on this test before you can do the worksheet. That's why I can count this test double. Still have the statement, you still have entries, and you will have closing entries. That was closing entries on this one. I'm just flipping at some exercises. So that was your exercise 24. This is your exercise 25. And you're supposed to do 26, 27, 28. All of your entries, your closing entries. And that's homework, okay? Now on Cengage, have you had to do a spreadsheet on Cengage? Have you had to do a spreadsheet on Cengage? Yeah. They may not even give you one on Cengage. I don't know if I put one on there or not. Okay. All right, now we're going to look at a couple of exercises before we call it a day.
I got a question.
All right.
So, closing entry, is that it? All we are finding is that capital? Is that right?
All right. Margot, let me show you something, dear. Let me flip back here. What is your net income right there, Margot?
65.
What?
65.
Now, when we do closing entries, I want you to look, Margot. What number will make your debits and credits balance when you make closing entries?
It's that cap.
Net income, 65. That is your revenue minus your expenses. I don't care if it's in a journal entry, you get 65, or an income statement, you get 65. Revenue and expenses, and the 65 goes into capital, okay? Net income increases capital.
So all for closing entry, we just reverse our income statement.
Do what now?
For half of it, we just reverse our income statement and add our net income onto the credit side.
Right, right, if it's a net income, yeah,
So is that it?
right, okay. Capital is how much? Now, if we don't make that correct in the ledger, if we don't add 65 to it, we're not gonna get this balance. So in a closing entry, we're adding 65 to capital. And when we close out drawing, we're deducting 8 from capital. We have to do that in journal entry form, post it, and your ledger then will show this balance. That's the balance you have to use for your balance sheet, isn't it? It all connects. That's why I wanted to do this whole problem to get it connected.
So I just don't understand why capital and drawing don't equal all the numbers.
Do what now?
I don't understand, like, for the closing entry we did on 17, like our capital is 75,000, drawing is 2. You know what I'm saying?
The drawing is 75 also.
Right, but I don't understand, like, are those numbers not supposed to, I don't understand how that's.
Margot, we looked at that one, I guess. Let's look at that one. 17.
Yeah,
Something happened to 17 here. But anyhow, 18, and there's some overlap here. Margot, we closed out in that exercise. We took 75 out of capital. When we debit capital, it reduces it, right? And when we credit drawing, it gives it a zero balance. All right. Now, here you have your revenue, then you have your expenses, and this thing won't write on here like it should. But anyway, the difference is the 100 and.
right, I understand that, but what's the 75,000 at the bottom gonna do?
Well, that's drawing. That's the drawing. You know, when you made the journal entry during the month, credit cash for 75,000, credit John Doe drawing. In this case, Marlena Fenton. We debit her drawing account during the month, and now we're closing it out. Well, we better practice one more of those. So let's go to problem 4A, page 205. Problem 4A, page 205. Now let's try closing entries. Do me 2 closing entries from that information.
What's number again?
Exercise a problem. Well, it's 4-4A on page 205. It's the PE exercise. Let's do a closing entry for exercise PE 4-4A, page 205. Did you get 286,200?
285.
Yeah, 285 too. All right, when I see your paper, you may leave for the day, but everybody's gotta have this problem written down. So I think a couple of you can go ahead and leave. Margot, if that's what you got, go ahead and leave. You have 285 too? Yeah, let's put it. Let's look at all that, because you all, yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Anybody else finished?
Yeah, I got it.
I found, I know what to do. This is?
Yep.
Oh. Oh, I have this. I thought like.
Yeah.
Okay, same, around Joe, we want you to number 285 too.
Oh.
285 too.
25.
Oh, you gotta go, yeah. Ready to go. Right. You got that written down. You know, let's have to help.
I'll add, yeah.
You don't do anything with that, right? Yeah, because I'm gonna go and select it down. But your, that 285, 200, you should move it down here below the 22,000.
I'm just curious. Because on this one, it's 5,000. This is those entries. 5,002.
Here.
credit of 80,000 capital. Debit. Or credit 80,000 draw, and debit 80,000 capital.
Okay, I'm cutting out live streaming.
Because you're drawing.
You folks at home, please study.
Here's 80,000 to draw. Credit.